I think we're live. I'm pretty sure we're live. Welcome, everyone. I can't hear myself, so I'll have to turn things up a little bit. What about that? Welcome back to the BN Multi weekly live session. I'm Jacqui Lewis, and I am the clinical nutritionist for BN Multi. And every week we meet here on the BN Multi page to answer your questions, all related to weight loss surgery, nutrition, health, anything else that's concerning you along the way. And I still can't hear myself, but I think we're just going to have to deal with that. I hope you can hear me. So I'll open up the page and make sure you can. So each week in the group, there's a few opportunities for you to post any questions you have or any experiences you're having that you'd like us to look at from a nutritional perspective. A lot of it is stuff I can answer. If it's anything over the general advice we should be giving online, I'll also recommend whom you should talk to. So we have contact with most of the bariatric dietitians in Australia, so I'm sure we can always find someone who will be able to help you. I've found the problem. I've got the earphones plugged into the wrong spot, and now I'm just about to blow my ears out. There it is. So I've got a new camera. Everything's looking swift. Thanks to the tech team again for special home delivery of cameras and setup. So I'm very grateful because a lot of this wouldn't happen without them. So this week is, counting down to Christmas. School's finished. It's pretty good. And we made it through the year. So that's always good. And we get to have Christmas pretty much in Queensland, pretty unimpacted upon as far as restrictions and COVID and that sort of stuff go. I think, though, we've all had our holidays booked for fairly local destinations. And that's not a bad thing. I'm finding that a lot of where we're headed for our big 4-day event, there are lots of people we know close by. So it'll be quite a nice holiday. We can, catch up with friends and family. And then, maybe even have some people from the southern states visit us, which is always very cool. So nothing else special to announce, just getting ready for Christmas. Let me know if there's any more concerns you have about planning your food and dealing with everything that goes with that from a food and nutrition perspective, but also it can be a bit of an emotional time too. So whilst it all sounds like fun and games, sometimes it isn't, and we appreciate that as well. So share it in the group, and I'm sure you're not alone with all sorts of different things that go on at this time of the year. So thanks for joining us. Here's the first question, and here they are. I found them. So Tracy has asked us, I'm currently on the puree stage and about to start soft foods. What's the recommended amount of protein to aim for at each meal once I'm able to easily measure this? So, again, just a guide, not that I set it in stone, but your protein intake is usually about 60 to 80 grams a day. And generally that's in 20 to 25 gram I want to say dose, but servings. So a serving of meat, generally, if it's 100 grams, it has about 20 to 25 grams of protein in it. In the puree stage, you can puree up basically anything to the right consistency if you have the right blender that is able to manage that. So it could be anything. It could be bolognese, it could be soup, it could be any kind of meat and vegetable combination that's able to be pureed and and it sits well with you. So this part of your journey is heavily experimental, and there's no other way of finding out what you like and don't like and what sits well and doesn't, other than just trying a range of foods. And do that. Just explore the range of, you know, have a look around and see what's on offer. As far as if you're looking at meat, you could look for chicken, fish, tuna, salmon, red meat, offal, all sorts of stuff. Offal on that point, also like liver, that sort of thing, is a really good source of iron. So looking at also foods that you might not have touched before, but viewing your food for what's in it and what the benefit is that it brings, particularly when you have such limited opportunities of fitting nutrition in. So I've said it probably a million times, but every time you put something in your mouth, it has to be worth it. So looking at nutrient-rich options. On our website, if you go to bnmulti.com and look at the bariatric recipes tab, in that drop-down, there are free ebooks that will get you through this puree and soft food stage. And I chose the recipes based on high protein, low GI carbohydrates, lots of veggies, and, you know, really nutritious options. Also things that you might not have considered before as foods that you eat on a regular basis. So it's kind of also, its aim is to introduce you to foods that you might have gone, oh, I don't really eat that very often, but now cottage cheese or ricotta cheese or things like that are a feature because of what they bring to the table, literally. So things like ricotta is a great source of protein, but also brings some iron with it. So it's low fat, it's, you know, it's versatile, it's easy to add to recipes and that sort of thing. So it's looking at ways that you can increase your protein intake. As a rule, and your dietitian likely should have given you a plan for this stage so that they know you're meeting your needs. Generally, the rule of thumb for protein intake is 0.9 grams to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of your ideal weight. So if you're, say, at pulling random numbers out, if your body weight at the moment is 150 and your goal weight is 80, you do the 0.9 times 80, and that's the right level of protein for you. Protein intake changes with activity. So at the moment, I don't think you'd be, you know, running any races or jumping over hurdles. So I can safely say that 0.9 will probably get you there. As your activity level increases and your needs change because you're looking at recovery from exercise and that sort of thing, you'll need a little bit more. So do try the recipe books out. And also in the top of the group, in the BN Bariatric group, there's a recipe book that we drew. All of the members contributed their favourite recipes from this tricky puree and soft food stage, and we put that together as a book as well. So pop up to the top of the group, it's an announcement, and it has a book there that you can download, and it's everybody's favourite foods that got them through the first stage, because it ain't easy. So I hope that helped, Tracy. Now the next question is Susan. Susan would like to know if I'll be having a session on what happens when you lose weight and you can't control your cravings and start eating foods such as chocolate again and you can't stop. We've done a range of sessions on this kind of thing, and you'll find all of the back issues of the live sessions on the Australian Weight Loss Surgery podcast website. There it is. I'm back to front today. I don't know how that happened. Oh, I'm back to front today. So you'd be seeing that back to front too, maybe. I can see it, and normally it's back to front to me. Anyway, I digress. So what can happen is once you've lost your weight, you're feeling pretty good, maybe you're a little bit more relaxed than you used to be about losing weight. Maybe you're more hungry, which also definitely happens. The first year after surgery, we liken it to a honeymoon period where you're not that hungry and you're losing weight pretty quickly. So after that stops, it's time to really go back to focusing big time on your portion control. So grab the bowl and the plate, or our new silicone mat, which is a portion management mat that sits on your plate, and that's you can take that anywhere you like, put one in your lunchbox or take it out for dinner with you, and that's how you portion up your meal, because that's what the guidelines are for the rest of your life, is this portioning. And that's the backbone of your weight loss, and it's the structure of your meals that makes all the difference. So if you start to back off the protein and increase the carbohydrates, you're going to feel more hungry, more empty, and start craving more carbohydrates. So there's a range of things that can be happening if you can't control your cravings, and it's something to look at from a few different angles. Look at how hunger comes on. So if you ate something 2 hours ago, you had lunch, and you're kind of starting to feel a bit hungry, that's pretty normal. If you're at home, you've had dinner, you've portioned out your dinner, you've had a protein-rich, vegetable-rich, great meal, and then about half an hour later, you're like, boom, starving, that could be emotional. So have a look at, and this is where food journaling comes in, having a look at the way you're dealing with food and your hunger. So if hunger comes on in an instant, normally there's something going on that is more habit or association. It's like, oh, after dinner, I'll just have a little bit of chocolate, or it's after dinner, I'll have a cup of tea and a biscuit, or after dinner, I'll have a glass of wine, or those kind of things. And it's that instant, it hits you quickly. Hunger comes on gradually. Real hunger comes on gradually. So, and it's also something I've said before, is that you should be feeling hunger, and it's not the devil, and it's not to be scared of, but it is something that a lot of us, if we've been overeating in our history, have not necessarily felt being hungry, and often we associate it with a problem or a panic, or we have this feeling of emptiness. And a lot of the time, sometimes people use food to fill up emotionally. So it's a whole food, and how we manage our food and what our habits are around food has so many different things that come together to bring about the picture for us. So it's behavioural, it's learnt, it's association, it's culture, it's environment, it comes back to so many different things. So it's something that you have to be really able to pull it apart honestly for yourself and have a look at what the things are behind it. It could be as simple as you just need more protein, or it could be this whole other picture. So it's something that if you're still in touch with your dietitian, it's important that you have these conversations with them. And this is also why I remind you on a regular basis that the relationship you have with your professional team is lifelong, as well as your supplementation is lifelong. And this journey is something that's not a short trip, it's a journey. So when these times start to come up and you start to feel that, you're slipping or something's changing and you don't know what it is, the quickest way you're going to beat that is to get some other input and get someone to show you another way, because that's essentially what we need to do, is find another way. And the quickest, most effective way is a professional who will say, I see what you're doing there, and here's what we'll do instead, and here's a mechanism that you put in place, and this is what you can do. And it's just the easiest thing to sort out. And it's part of looking at ourselves, I suppose, and exploring that from all angles. So I hope that's helpful. The next question is from Fee. Fee would like some information on fueling for weight training, please, because I'm either hungry or dizzy and there's no happy medium. Yes, and that's another one that comes back to protein and calorie intake. I just did a podcast and I think it's the next one in the queue to be released, and it's with bariatric dietitian Nick Ray, who also deals a lot with what he terms beautifully the bariathlete, and it's about people who have had bariatric surgery and do have these higher needs. And some people, they you know, they've been quite athletic in the past, maybe had an accident, gained a lot of weight, gone through the surgery, and now they're looking back at getting into that kind of high level energy output, and the needs of that exercise need to be met with food, but there's not much room for it. So he and I discussed how to fuel your body when you're a barrier athlete, or even when you're even, you know, more active than you used to be, because the minute you start to increase your muscle levels on your body, your metabolic rate will increase, and that's fantastic because that's what helps keep you from gaining body fat, is having more muscle. And however, it needs more calories because it's more active even while you're sitting at your desk. If you've got more muscle on your frame, you'll be burning more energy just sitting still. And the way I like to paint this picture is like if you've got two vehicles that are sitting at the traffic lights, if you've got a twin turbo V8 supercar sitting there, and you've got a Yaris on the other side, and they're just idling at the lights, who's using more energy? Who needs more fuel is the big guy with the big engine. And that's what putting muscle on your body is about, building a bigger engine that's going to burn more energy. So yay, you get to eat more and yay, you're actually doing wonderful things for your bone density and your mental health and all sorts of other things when you start exercising like that. So my short answer is listen to the podcast next week when it comes out. And the other answer is there are what we call fueling windows that need to be filled, and they are before and after exercise. So before exercise, you need to be putting in at least 50 grams of carbohydrates and some protein. There's a specific formula for it. And then for your recovery, that food will get you through your workout if it's quite intense. For your recovery, before 45 minutes elapses after you exercise, you need to put in another 25 to 30 grams of protein and at least 25 to 30 grams of carbohydrate. So those will both balance you out at the end of the before the session. They'll give you the energy to get through the workout, and after the session that will help you recover. So that's key in not feeling exhausted the next day after you've been training, or that dizzy, you know, low blood sugar feeling where you've got not enough energy in the tank. And essentially the hungry is not enough food and the dizzy is low blood sugars. So it's looking at, are you eating enough carbohydrates? What are your ratios between carbohydrate and protein? So that's coming up. It's I think it's next Friday, and I'll put it in the group. I'll tell you when it actually is. But yeah, have a look at what you're eating before and after, even just a couple of dates before a workout, or half a banana or something that's just going to boost that blood glucose levels beforehand. Thank you. Catherine has got 2 questions. Can you have too much protein during the day? Yes, you can. Particularly when you're adding the tasteless protein to drinking water. So yes, you can. And excess protein is harder to convert to fat, but it will convert to fat. Sorry to say that. But a lot of people think protein is for free, and it's not. It is freer than carbohydrate because its conversion to fat is much harder to do. So carbs go straight in. They get the quickest thing, they're made into glucose. If that's not used by your muscles in activity and metabolism, just keeping your body going, your body will send it to the liver and store it as glycogen. And if you don't use that in the next, I think it's 72 hours you've got to use up those carbs, that'll then start to turn to fat, and it's pretty easy. Converting protein to fat is a bit harder, can be done, but it's still an excess of a macronutrient, and it needs to be considered. The other thing is it's hard on your body when you're taking in too much protein. So you really can only take about 25 to 30 grams of protein in one hit. And it depends a lot on, you need a lot of water. So hydration, if you're on a higher protein diet, you really will find that you need more water. because hydrogen is a part of that whole process of the conversion of protein to amino acids and making them into all the things that they become. So the answer is yes. And the tasteless protein water, whilst it doesn't look like it has a lot of calories and that sort of stuff in it, it's still also adding to what we call the amino acid pool, which is in your liver. Lots of things happen in your liver, so look after it. It also can create stress in the body. So it's harder work because you've got all this protein lying around basically, and it makes the kidneys work harder than they need to. And the other thing that can happen out of that is acidosis, so higher acidic load in the body. So things like gouty arthritis, when you hear of people who've been drinking too heavily, eating too much red meat, we call it excessive purines, which is also part of a protein. It causes joint pain and that sort of thing. So whilst I doubt that tasteless collagen powder is going to do that to you, this is just an example of, yes, you can have excess protein. So the second question was, is it common for patients having had gastric bypass, not sleeve, to gain weight? Yes. If so, how does that happen? And again, it goes back to not user error, but being honest about how you're eating, what you're eating, how often you're eating. The main one is grazing. A lot of people can start eating all throughout the day. And that's why structure is the key to your success. Structuring your meals as far as what they comprise of, but also making sure you're just not, it would only take you an hour before you could probably fit another meal in if you're committed to continually putting food in. So if you are grazing throughout the day and you're snacking on what they call slider foods, like foods that, like I always talk about potato chips or Pringles, that sort of thing, because they are, about that big when they're out in the packet, but when you chew it up, it becomes very small in the body, and that's food that will not fill up your pouch. So foods that will fill up your pouch are protein and bulky carbohydrates from grains and from veggies, and that's basically why also we need to stick with that kind of eating pattern. So the weight gain can be that there's too much food. It's a caloric surplus, too many calories, but also a caloric deficit that's a very low calorie diet for a prolonged period of time will also slow down fat loss because the body's trying to protect itself. It's obviously in a famine state, and we're very clever little bodies. Particularly women's bodies will start to store fat rather than let it go if there's if the body perceives that there's a famine. So have a look at protein deficiency and overall a caloric debt that is not helpful for sustaining just the basic metabolic actions like breathing and digestion and sweating. Like all those autonomic things take energy, and if we don't have enough energy, the body goes, well, if I don't have enough energy and I can't keep sweating, pooping, eating, digesting, thinking, I'll just have to conserve energy. So that's where your metabolic rate shuts down. The other thing to explore, and your doctors will look into that, is any kind of endocrine issues like thyroid will slow down fat loss. The other, also speaking about thyroid, is a huge problem in our community is iron deficiency, and iron is the transporter of oxygen. So hemoglobin is a huge contributor to that. And when oxygen is scant and there's not enough iron, guess who goes to sleep? It's the thyroid. So thyroid is the key to your metabolism. So hypothyroid, underactive, or hyperthyroid have all sorts of different far-reaching effects. And I believe the thyroid has effects on 20 different systems in the body. So, it's a lot to do with nutrition as well. So zinc, selenium, iron are the key nutrients for the thyroid gland, but also just getting checked that, you know, your thyroid hormones are in balance and everything's functioning okay. Thank you. Next question is Kez. I'm on day 2 of pre-op and I want to make sure I'm getting some food in my tummy. Can anyone tell me if beetroot is allowed? So I would say don't hesitate with beetroot. Don't have it the night before surgery. They say nothing red. So they know what they're dealing with. But beetroot's a great iron-rich veggie, and it's got a lot of the purple colour in it, which we love, and we covered that when we did the 50 Foods Challenge. Anything purple, I don't think you can have too much of it. So, yeah, I would imagine on day 2 you have someone who's helping you with your food planning and your, you know, shake and food ratio. So I hope that helps you too. Karen's got a question. Does the 30 grams of protein need to only be taken 3 times a day, or can you have smaller amounts of protein, say 15 to 20 grams throughout the day to get you to your total anyway? Of course you can. That's no problem at all. The 30 grams, you may be better with the 20, you know, quick hit ones, because then you've got a better opportunity of absorbing it all. So long as you're meeting your needs. So your snacks should be protein rich, and that also will stave off that hunger. If you're snacking on lighter carby kind of snacks in between meals, you'll find that blood sugars go up and down. And also they just go straight through the pouch or the tummy because they're carbs, and carbs are not digested in the stomach. They go through into the small intestine, and that's why they leave you hungry. All they do, I mean, they're good. They've got their function, but we do love protein. I'm a bit protein biased. They go through into the small intestine, which means that your tummy's empty quickly. So a little bit of fat. If you're having carbs, have a little bit of fat with it and some protein. But if something's quite carby and you can't avoid it, I'll put a little bit of fat with it, which sounds contra, but it slows down the spike of your blood glucose levels. And that's kind of what you're trying to prevent, is that up and down, you know, peaking. Have a meal that's rich in carbohydrates. You've got high insulin, and in the presence of insulin, fat loss is impossible, firstly. But also if you're peaking and troughing, you'll be hungrier and you'll be moodier and you're likely to make poorer decisions. So protein first. I'll say it again. There we go. I'm 3 weeks post. Oh, Kristen Lee is asking about, she's 3 weeks post-op and wondering how long before I can carry washing baskets to the washing line. Just tell your family that you're not allowed to do that for 25 weeks. No, I'm joking. I've never met anyone who's keen to carry washing baskets to the clothesline. I would say that one's for your surgeon, and I would guess it's around 3 to 6 weeks, guessing. And please, I didn't tell you 3 weeks. After any kind of major surgery, particularly abdominal, if you look at it like a cesarean section, that's a 6-week process, and it's easy to forget what they've done because the outside looks like not much has happened. It's just these little keyhole dots, but on the inside there's so much going on that I think I'd outsource the washing for at least a good couple of months if I was you, Kristen. Tell them Jacqui said. Pauline is asking about, I've started a weights program at the gym. Yeah, you. Have surgery in 2 weeks, and how long after surgery can I start lifting weights again? And this is a similar one, I believe. Is up to your team to let you know kind of what's right for you, because everybody's different, but also thinking about what's going on and how much, and also even after you've recovered, like physically from wounds and having part of your body taken out, also have a think about how much food you can fit in and how much energy you're going to want to expend at the gym. What you'll have in your court is muscle memory, and as I get older I rely on that pretty heavily. So muscle memory is where you've had good level of strength and you've been quite fit, and you might have a layoff. And this would be a good example where you'd have maybe 3 or 4 weeks where you didn't go to the gym. And then when you go back, you'll probably hurt the first couple of times, but you'll regain that pretty quickly, given the right recovery and that sort of thing. So don't rush into it. I know it's a time where everything's new and you're excited about, you know, finally cracking that nut. But just ask your team about how long they recommend and then follow that advice to the letter. And we're always more cautious than we are excited about heavy lifting and exercise. So just be patient with yourself as well. And the reasons for that also are there's not much energy that you're feeding in your body. So it's making sure you're not taxing yourself too much. So then, Carolyn, welcome. Why would I struggle with sleep after surgery when before I could sleep like a log for 7 to 8 hours, and some nights now I'm only getting 3 or no more than 6? A few things could be happening here is that I can imagine when you were prior to your surgery, we're all on the heavier side. It's a long day getting that body through whatever you're doing, and also not as fit as you are now. I know you've been quite active in swimming and doing all that sort of stuff, and sometimes you've just got more energy. The other thing that springs to mind is your iron, and often if you find that you get to sleep okay because you're exhausted, but you're waking up during the night, it can be a sign that there's iron deficiency around, because iron helps with sleep maintenance, which is staying asleep. That could be something to explore. And also sometimes thyroid will come into that picture of sleep interruption, and also neurotransmitters. So to maintain sleep and to regulate sleep, you need melatonin and serotonin, melatonin mainly in the evenings. So those are all our neurotransmitters are made out of amino acids from our protein and B group vitamins. So making sure you have enough B group and enough protein will help to maintain mental health as well, and sleep onset and mood regulation and that sort of stuff. So a few things to look at. But yeah, I would talk to your team, because the minute I've got someone not sleeping, they're feeling tired, then exercise is like, I can't do that. So whenever someone starts, if someone's consulting with me as a patient, I often they'll come in with a goal. And I'll say, how are you sleeping? And they'll say, terribly. And I'll go, well, that goal can wait, because this goal is really, really important. And once we get you sleeping and functioning and your energy levels are better and your mood is better and you're waking feeling refreshed, you find that weight loss falls into place as well, because sleep or lack of sleep is quite inflammatory. The other thing it does is it messes up your melatonin, serotonin, which leaves you craving carbohydrate. And when you're really tired because you've not been sleeping, you're going to be feeling hungry and you're going to want carbs. So it's a whole big circuit of things that happen around sleep. But I would say go and check it out. If it's an ongoing interruption to your sleep, it's not fun at all. So I hope that helped too. Kerry is asking, hi, I'm 12 months post-op and I've lost 36 kilos in the first 6 months. That's pretty good. So that's 6 kilos a month, and then nothing. And I've tried doing the shakes again. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I tried the shakes again for a week and nothing. I walk a couple of kilometres a day, but I have fibromyalgia, so exercise is difficult. Any ideas? It's a hard one, and it goes back to looking at what is going in, why there might be a stall, looking at your, again, protein first, portion management, all that kind of stuff. Looking at also if there's any inflammation on board. I wanted to say a lot of people go, oh, I need to reset, I'm going to do the shakes. And I think I talked about this with Meryl Bond in the podcast we did, and it was really helpful for me because I would go, nope, don't do shakes. It's another diet. And the reason you're here is because you dieted all your lifetime. The shakes are something that help us to regulate what we're doing. I battle with why, if we're willing to give up food and take a shake as a meal, why can't we just eat 20 grams of protein and some veggies? I don't know why that's become a real replacement, particularly after we've gone through all of this to get to a place where we're, eating and regulating what we eat. So the shakes have their place because they'll give you the nutrients you need, and they've got protein and it's balanced. It's a meal replacement, but I don't know why we need to go back to a pre-op diet when we feel like we need to lose weight, because that's not teaching us good eating habits. And the key is making sure we're practicing and practicing and practicing. And I'll say I'll have a protein shake on a busy morning, and I find it works for me, and it means I'm not hungry, and it is a great solution. But I don't think taking food away and drinking shakes again is the solution for weight loss over the longer term, because my motto is if you change something and you take it on, like a shake diet or a paleo diet or a gluten-free diet or whatever, there's 100 different diets out there. Ask yourself, first thing is, can I do this for the rest of my life? And if the answer is no, have a look at why it would be something that you need to do to get to a certain point, because often when we take away that tool or that mechanism of I'll just do the shakes again, we start eating again. And so then we go yo-yo, 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 and we end up just doing shakes every time we want to have a reset. My idea of a reset is to take away refined carbohydrates and maybe remove anything that's processed and eat protein, like quite a heavy protein diet for maybe 3 days. And what that does is resets your blood sugars, and it stops you going, woo, I want sugar, I want more. That's kind of where I would go if I was looking at I need a reset. I just cut back on refined carbohydrates, and I go with vegetables mainly, even remove fruit. But this is 3 days. Bring up your protein. If you're having a snack, it's a boiled egg, or it's even those Twiggy sticks, that sort of thing. You can do that. If you're not eating sugars, you can have more fat and more protein, and you'll actually feel so much more fuller and satisfied for longer. So I'm not saying don't ever do the shakes if that's, the way you want to go, but just be aware that is it teaching you new habits, and is it helping you to do this longer term lifestyle? Because that's kind of where we need to look as well. Rant over. The last thing I'm going to do, what are we, 7:40? It is the last thing I'm going to do. We're announcing the winners, and this week, get this, I'll post the link in the group for those who would like one of their own, because they're pretty special. This week, the winners of Transformation Tuesday win a $20 gift voucher. On the site, on the BN multi-site, we've got Christmas personalised, you can personalise them yourself, gift voucher. So you go on, you don't know what to buy, your mum, your sister, your brother, your weight loss surgery pal. You don't know what to buy them. So you go, here we go, here's a voucher. They can then go to the store and choose what they want. And you, if you're shopping last minute, like I am on Friday, gift vouchers are good. So we've made it pretty easy. And these will be available throughout the year. We'll do birthday ones and that sort of stuff. I'll post an image in the group, and they're very cute. So our first winner is Kelly Lyons. And I think this is a great story because, firstly, Kelly's had huge weight loss success with 43.2 kilos of weight loss. So good on you, Kel. But also started giving beginner pole dancing a try, and I think that's fabulous. I've always wanted to do it, but my size and lack of fitness held me back. So I'm really enjoying learning how to move my body in new ways and trying some new tricks. And I think if you read up on that whole way of moving and the strength and the sassiness of that activity, it's so good for self-esteem as well, and just to see what your body can do. So you've done better than I have, because I've always wanted to try it, but I've never got around to it. So good on you. You've won a $20 gift voucher. Hurrah! We should have that canned applause for everyone who wins. The second winner of Transformation Tuesday is Ashley Hayes. And Ashley's pictures are in the group as well. Photo on the left was me 2 weeks ago at 80 kilos. Photo on the right was this time last year at 120 kilograms. That's significant weight loss, isn't it? Had a bypass in July this year. That's incredible. Must have been, never felt better. And as you can see, I'm wearing active wear, something I would never have dreamed of doing in the last 15 years. So good work to you, and flexing the guns too. I do need to learn how to share my screen, because that would be much more effective. So well done, Ashley. If I called out your name as a winner, could you please send an email to support@bnmulti.com and just let them know that you've won the Transformation Tuesday prize this week, and we'll send you back a link to your gift voucher. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you for joining us this week. We're doing a bit of a poll in the group as well to see whether Tuesday at 7 p.m. Queensland time is suiting everybody. And what are we doing else? Podcast this week. Ben Harvey, get onto that one. This is Ben Harvey. I've done a couple of his courses myself when I lived in Sydney, and loved it. Did the free Turning Point course, and for a 2-day free course, I expected to walk in there and get sold. We didn't. We got told about what else he did, and which was fantastic as well. But as a personal development tool for changing the way you look at things, I was really pleasantly surprised. His delivery is incredible. His knowledge is astounding. He was also a man who suffered depression and was also quite overweight, and just pulled himself out of it and worked out ways in which to live his best life. And now he shares that passion, and I'm a little bit in awe of him, I must say that. And so the very least you need to do is go to the Australian Weight Loss Surgery podcast site and click on his web link, authenticeducation.com.au. I think it's authentic.com.au. Heaps of free stuff on there that you don't even need to do anything else but use it and change your life. And then they have now all the Turning Point course is actually online. So you turn up and it's just fantastic. It's spiritual, it's logical, it's backed by science, and it's easy to understand and implement. And I also did his success automation course and a couple of others, and I can't speak of him highly enough. So I hope you enjoy the podcast with Ben, and he tells his story too, which for our community is quite inspiring as well. And that's what we aim to do, is bring you inspiring stories. And also on that, we're starting up a BN Inspirer page on our website. So you'll find a link, and we're putting it out in the newsletter. You'll find a link where you can share your story, and it also shows you how far you've come and what's gone on, and everyone's on the same journey but for a different reason. And we're compiling all of these BN inspired stories together, and it'll become like a good collection of stories and, you know, inspiration for everybody involved. People who are looking at having the surgery, they're not sure if they should do it or not. People who are on the same journey, and, you know, finding people who are like-minded. So That's the aim, is to bring everyone together in a positive way. So this week, it's my birthday on Friday. Thought I'd share that. Next week, it's Jesus' birthday, on a side note. And then it's the new year. And we're also talking about the new year in our and resolutions and stuff in the newsletter next week. So stay tuned. And I'm going to stop rambling and I will catch you next week. Oh, I should have a look and see if there's any questions. Hang on a sec. No, I can't find Facebook. How about that? So if there's any more questions, I'll answer them in the group after the live session. So have a great week and take care. Have a wonderful week.